Hey electric riders, welcome to the eNews cycle, where we're always about 1 month behind, but that's on purpose. If you're new here, these are my monthly videos where we go over the prior month's news and new releases in the PEV or mostly e-bike market. I hope everyone had a great month of December and whichever holiday you celebrate.
Merry Christmas! Share was full!
December was upon us, and that came with a bunch of news and new releases. So let's dive in and see what Santa, or maybe Krampus, brought us in December. To start us off, we have some updates from the e-bike company that is slowly coming back from the dead. VanMoof 2.0's new leadership, Elliot Wertheimer, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, and Nick Fry did an interview with TheVerge.com and offered some insights into the company's future post-bankruptcy and purchase, which includes rolling out replacement parts to repair shops and retailers, re-adding the ability for people to purchase VanMoof e-bikes, and even plans for a VanMoof branded e-scooter sometime in the first 6 months of 2024, which makes sense since the company that pulled VanMoof out of the morgue was Lavoie, which is primarily a French e-scooter company. Things look hopeful for the company, but Nick Fry was cautiously optimistic, saying that it'll take 3 years minimum before we start to see their head above water. It's an interesting article that I recommend that you read, especially if you're a VanMoof owner. I'll leave the link in the description. Speaking of bankruptcy and companies that continue to come back from it, the electric scooter and e-bike company announced that it was filing for Chapter 11 in December after some major layoffs last year where they let go about 100 employees, which for some companies they wouldn't even bat an eye at doing. It was about 25% of their workforce. Bird went public in 2021 and the company was initially valued at over $2 billion, but its value plummeted less than a year later, and at one point was even removed from the New York Stock Exchange because its value just dropped too low. I think we have a clip of when that happened somewhere.
My God, we're ruined.
This is an outrage. I demand an investigation.
2 cutaway jokes in one news story. That is comedy gold. From what I've heard, the shared electric scooter business model is tough, and most companies will run at a loss while they struggle to gain an initial foothold in most cities. But there's good news. The company has said that this won't affect their Canadian and European divisions and will continue to operate as normal and have enough funds to keep things running with their United States partners, vendors, suppliers, and employees during and after the restructuring process. Let's hope that things turn out for the best. Another PEV company that is having financial troubles is Sondors. And not to be confused with Sonder, the UK bicycle company that just recently released their first e-bike. Sondors is a US-based company that started in 2015, so they are sort of one of the older e-bike companies in North America that's still around. It's been a rocky road over the years and have been many rumors, whisperings, and sayings that the company was at the brink of bankruptcy. Their latest major release was a light electric motorcycle, the Metacycle, which initially had a ton of hype when it was first announced, but the travels started soon after. In a report from Electric, they published an article back in October indicating the Metacycle may have been the straw that broke the camel's back. Thousands of Metacycles are sitting in China warehouses, abandoned since Sondors wasn't able to pay their bills and collect the inventory. Micah Toll from Electric released a follow-up story in December saying that the company had entered into receivership, which differs from bankruptcy, but it's kind of in the same ballpark. I do wish the best of luck for the company, but most of all the Sondors employees that had left and those that are still remaining. Here's hoping that there are greener pastures on the horizon for them. I'm putting this next one in the news story section instead of the new releases. French e-bike company Pelican Cycles announced their modular e-bike cargo hauler that they're calling the Pelican Train. When I first saw this thing, I thought it would be a trike, but it only has 2 wheels. Is it designed for commercial use to have multiple trailers attached and hauled heavy loads? The bike comes with a EU bike motor standard, 250 watts, and that they will say it go up to 50 kilometers or about 30 miles. Each trailer has its own 250 watt motor, brakes, and batteries, and they have built-in technology that synchronizes the main bike with all the subsequent trailers, motors, and braking systems to be able to haul a maximum load of about 1,100 pounds. As I mentioned, these are for commercial use. I imagine primarily large warehouses, like internal transportation, or perhaps delivering in cities where e-bikes are more efficient, like in New York City or Paris. This type of design, though, is kind of a real game changer, so be interested in see how this gets implemented in the future. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to check them out. Asian electric vehicle and e-bike manufacturer Talji, I'll just say Talji, announced plans to use sodium-ion batteries in some of their new e-bikes. They say e-bikes, but they look to be more like electric Vespa scooters with pedals. The reports that I've seen mention that these sodium batteries or bikes are already up for sale, but I wasn't able to find them listed on their site. But otherwise, they highlight the advances of these battery technologies, listing its super long range, capacities reaching over 70 miles and temperatures below 0 degrees Celsius, a battery that would retain much of its power capacity even in below freezing temperatures, and the IPX7 grade waterproofing, which exceeds most other e-bike battery standards. While sodium ion isn't as energy dense as lithium ion, sodium is much more plentiful, obviously, than lithium, making it much more of a renewable resource. Not to mention that lithium-ion batteries are highly volatile, causing stories such as the cargo ship that had a container of lithium-ion batteries catch fire, which was burning uncontrollably. Not to mention numerous reports where landlords were banning residents from even owning e-bikes while renting apartments or condos from them. Batteries are one of the most expensive components in your average electric bike, so if a different battery technology will bring the cost down, consumers will hopefully benefit. It'll be interesting to see if more companies adopt the sodium-ion batteries in the future, or if there will be a different type of battery that they'll switch over to, but we'll see. One quick story that I want to touch on regarding some actual good news regarding Rad Power Bikes. In a previous episode of eNews Cycle, we went over the class action lawsuit filed back in September against Rad for safety concerns regarding their quick release front forks and disc brake setups. A Maryland man suffered an accident while riding his Rad e-bike and blamed the manufacturer, saying that the bicycle industry is well aware that the combination of the disc brakes and quick release system on a bike is dangerous, and it's Rad's fault that he didn't properly maintain his e-bike. No details or statement from the plaintiff as to why the suit was dropped, but as the most obvious cause for this type of malfunction to occur was from the lack of maintenance or safety check on the bike. Despite the lawsuit going nowhere, though, it does seem that this did prompt Rad to start eliminating the quick release fork in their newer e-bike models and even updated the design of their current model lineup, going for a bolt-on front wheel instead. It's less convenient, but also much less prone to user error. So with this lawsuit, at least, it's a fortunate outcome for Rad Power Bikes. That's it for the headline news that I wanted to touch on for December. Let's see what companies announced for new releases for the month as well. First up, Fuell released their new e-bike model called the Fold1. And that's Fold spelled with 2 L's.
Madison is with 2 N's, 1 Y, but it's not where you think.
The Fold1 looks to be a premium leaning e-bike, as most Fuell bikes are, with a full suspension, magnesium frame, 750 watt motor, 48 volt, 15 amp hour battery. They list an estimated range of up to 70 miles, which seems a bit generous considering the battery size, but well. And the bike comes with Tektro hydraulic brakes as well. From what I've seen, Fuell bikes seem to be high quality, a bit heavy for a folding e-bike at 82 pounds. That seems to be the trend with all new folding e-bikes, it seems, these days. It looks like it would be pretty solid. Link in the description if you want to check it out. Ride One Up has announced yet another new e-bike release, the CF Racer 1. It's a design that you typically won't see for most economy/affordable e-bike companies. The CF Racer has a super light carbon fiber frame and entirely hidden electric setup, so no unsightly cables bunched up at the handlebars or thick down tube with a huge integrated battery. The bike comes in 2 different styles, road and gravel, 2 size options within those layout types. The bike comes with a 250 watt geared hub motor, 36 volt, 7 amp hour battery, SRAM branded hydraulic disc brakes, as well as 11-speed drivetrain. Not to mention that the bike only weighs in around 27 to 28 pounds, depending on which version you're looking at. All of this for a price around $2,300. There are some compromises, of course, to keep this price so low. The most obvious being that the bike has a hub motor with a cadence sensor as opposed to a mid-drive motor with a torque sensor. But then again, if you can afford to buy a Specialized or TRex road bike, then this isn't marketed towards you. Overall, though, I'm really surprised that they managed to cram a lot of high-quality components into this bike for the price. Check it out. This next release comes from Juice Bikes, the new Scramber X2. The original Scrambler that Juice released way back in 2018 set the mold for how Juice bikes would kind of look, the moped/cafe racer kind of e-bike look. Their latest version of the Scrambler, the X2, builds upon that and refines that original design. With a 1000 watt hub motor, 800 watt hour battery, 7-speed drivetrain, front suspension fork, but sadly a hardtail in the rear. The price isn't too bad from what you get. Way better deal than what the comparable Super 73 would be. However, when you match it up against something like the X-Class from Aerial Rider, it's tough to beat the value that you get out of that bike, especially when it's on sale. Regardless, check out the Juice Scorpion X2. It looks to be a super fun moped-style e-bike, so check it out. A Japanese company, I believe it's pronounced Shumitsu, released a Kickstarter for the tiny Arma scooter, which is able to fold up to what they call a suitcase-sized box. It's a tiny folding e-scooter with a 250 watt motor, 36 volt, 3.5 amp hour battery, with a top speed of just under 15 miles per hour and around 7 miles of range. The entire e-scooter weighs in approximately 10 pounds. As I mentioned, the e-scooter is still in its Kickstarter, but it exceeded its initial goal to get off the ground. Their website mentioned that they'll continue to tweak and improve the design, so those stats may change. We've seen a ton of new releases that are geared towards the micro aspect of the micro-mobility market. So if this type of scooter and similar models catch on, we could really see a huge change in short-range electric mobility, especially in dense city areas. If you want to check out the Kickstarter, you know where the link will be. TrekS Mobility had a pair of new e-mountain bike releases in December, the TRex and the TRex Plus. The TRex and the TRex Plus are a bit out of the price range they typically cover, but they come from TrekS, which is normally an affordable e-bike brand, so I thought I should add it in. TrekS TRex and the TRex Plus, the only real difference that I see is that the TRex is 27.5 inch by 3 inch tires, while 26 by 4.8 inch fat tires on the TRex Plus. Otherwise, the bikes come with a Bafang mid-drive motor with 1,000 watts of power, 48-volt, 20-amp-hour battery, up to 55 miles of range, 10-speed Shimano drivetrain, full suspension frame. Nice components, but at $4,000, they sure as heck should be. Definitely out of my price range, but if you're looking for a new e-bike that looks like it should be able to handle some rough terrain, be sure to check out these two new TRexes. What is the plural of TRex? TRexi? TRexes? I don't know. I wasn't sure if this new bike, if you could call it a bike.
No, you can't. Don't even try.
I wasn't sure if this trike should go into the new releases section or the industry news, the Dolan Defender 250. It's a 3-wheeled PEV, but instead of having 2 wheels in the back and 1 in the front, or 2 in the front and 1 in the back, the Defender 250 has all 3 wheels lined up in a row. Why? Well, I'm not entirely sure, but it seems cool, so don't ask. It has 3 250-watt hub motors and a huge 48-volt, 53-amp-hour battery. Its unique design has what the company calls a central suspension system that pivots in the middle of the frame kind of like an inchworm. It has the ability to swap out and customize the components, like to add a cargo rack or passenger seat and handlebars on the rear. The 250 allows for a rider and passenger on the bike, like a tandem bike, but unlike a tandem, it only has 1 set of pedals, so they won't be able to input any power. The real stat that sticks out to me is the cargo capacity, which they list at a whopping 550 pounds, which is a crazy amount of capacity even for a trike. Unfortunately, the price is pretty crazy as well though, which lists 4,500 euros for the price tag, which translates to about $5,200 US. You can check out this bike on their website, but since Dolan is a German company, keep in mind that this may not be available in North America, but it's interesting nonetheless. Well, that's all I have for the December recap. I hope I touched on something that you found interesting. If I did, let me know what you think, or if I missed something, let me know as well. Please subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. I hope you enjoyed watching and I appreciate all the support. Have a great 2024, and as always, keep riding.